Most people building with Claude don't realize that the product that they've just created in a chat window can be live on the internet in under 10 minutes. And I'm not talking about placeholder demos. They're building full websites, web apps, dashboards, internal tools that are just sitting there as artifacts without going anywhere. Today, I'm going to go through how to take what you build with Claude and actually ship it to a live URL. I'm going to cover the entire workflow, building it, containerizing it with Docker, and deploying it on decentralized compute through Akash Network. And I'll walk you through every single step so that by the end of this video, you'll be able to take anything that you build with Claude, any Claude artifact, and have it running on the web before most people figure out how to export theirs. If this is your first time with me, my name is Caleb, and I'm your guide to all things Akash. Let's get started. To show you this workflow, I'm going to build a full production-style landing page from a single Claude prompt and take it all the way to live deployment. Specifically, we're going to build a landing page for a bubble tea business with the tab menu, customer reviews, order form, and proper branding throughout. But here's the key thing I want you to understand. This specific site does not matter. What we do here does not matter. The exact same workflow works for anything that Claude can generate. Whether it's a portfolio site, a React dashboard, project tracker, you name it. Literally anything. If Claude can create it, you can deploy it with what I'm about to show you. So let's start. We'll start with putting in a prompt that I've already prepared about building a bubble tea business website, and then we're going to give it a moment to let it generate, and we'll be back so you don't have to wait for this generation. Okay, so Claude just built out the entire site for us. We've got a hero section here. We've got some menu items with pricings, got social media links and the rest down here, and we've got some customer testimonials and whatnot. And we also have here our bulk order form, which is what we need. So now we need to actually generate this purchase order form because let's say some schools are placing bulk orders for this bubble tea shop. So I'm going to ask Claude to generate that as well. And I'm going to go the prompt here, and then we are going to wait for this to pass through as well. Okay, and here we go. We now have a form here. So 2 prompts in, and we now have a full business website with a working order form. We have the drinks in the form, the name, person receiving an order. We can add new drinks, change the sizes, and you can see that I can add another drink. You see the order total is adding up. Perfect. You get some delivery notes here, and you can do delivery time. So basically everything that you need. Now in production, you're going to want to connect this form to a service so that when someone fills it out, that submission gets emailed to you. But for the purpose of this demo, we're just going to leave this as is. And yeah, and this is exactly where most people stop. They've got a polished artifact sitting inside of Claude, and they either screenshot it or copy the code and tell themselves they're going to figure out the hosting afterwards. And that afterwards, unfortunately, never comes. So that's the gap that we're going to close right now. So to get this from Claude to cloud, we're going to have to package it. That means getting the site into a Docker container so that any cloud can run it. A Docker container is a self-hosted environment that bundles your application with everything it needs to run so that any cloud platform can pick it up and serve it without additional configurations. Quick prerequisite, you're going to need Docker installed on your machine and a free Docker Hub account. If you don't have those yet, go ahead and head to docker.com, download Docker Desktop, and create an account. Once that's done, everything we're about to do runs from your terminal. The good news is that we don't have to write any of the Docker configurations manually because Claude handles the entire Docker file and project structure for us. So the next thing I did was ask Claude to take the landing page and an order form that we just built and go ahead and containerize them. I'm asking them specifically to give me a Docker file that serves both the pages, and we also want the folder structure to be set up for us so that it makes it easier for us to containerize. So here it is. It basically gave us everything we need, including some download files. So I'm going to download these files, and then I am going to unpack. Okay, so now here I have downloaded the files and I've unpacked it, and we've got our bulk order form and our index HTML file, and as well as the Docker file as well. So the next thing that we're going to do is actually go ahead and build it. And so for this, we're going to go bring up our terminal. All right, so I got my terminal over here. So the first thing I need to do is make sure I'm in the same folder directory. So for example, where I am right now, it's in scribe deploy, which is not exactly the same as Claude Cloud where I am. So I need to go change the directory. Now I can just type it in myself, but just in case you're wondering how, or you don't know how to do that, you can simply ask Claude about it and it'll tell you how to get there. And so with that, it gives you the actual things you can type into your terminal. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to get to the right place. Perfect. And then the next thing I need to do is build my Docker container. So I can just copy this. You're going to want to change your username here to your Docker username if you're going to push it to a Docker repo. For me, my username is Calum, so I'm going to replace that there. Another thing that I want to add is because I'm building off of a Mac computer, I need to add an extra little piece here. I'll ask Claude to add that in. I'm building on a Mac. Can you make sure it's the right platform for Akash? And then there, it should give me a new build, new command to run, which adds the platform Linux AMD. So that's needed if you're running it off of a Mac. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in now. Okay, as you can see here, I replaced my username here. I have my build platform, and before you do that, you want to make sure that your Docker is actually running in the background, right? So let's go ahead and open that and give that a moment. Perfect, now I see my Docker is running. I'm just going to go ahead and use the same thing, and then this time it's going to work. Perfect. So this doesn't really take too long, but we're going to let it run for just a second, and once it's done building, we're going to push it out to our account. So over here, I'm going to copy this, and then once again, replacing my username with the right one. And then that's going to go and push that out to the cloud. And so we are now going to have this in our Docker repository. And then we can go ahead and get started with putting it on Akash. So that is now finished. Now we need to tell a cloud platform how to run this container. On Akash, that's done via a SDL file, which is a deployment manifest that specifies what resources that your application needs, what ports to expose, and what you're willing to pay for it. Writing one from scratch does take some familiarity with the specifications, but there is an open source skill that gives Claude the full Akash deployment specs, SDL schemas, validation rules, pricing, GPU models, all of it. We need to load that into Claude so that it can generate the correct SDLs for you on demand. And you can find it with the link on the screen. I'll try to put it in the description as well. Okay, so here is the Akash skills page. We're going to need to download the files from the repo, so we're just going to go ahead and download that. Akash skill, I already have a copy, but for sake of it, I'll download it anyway. And once you have that, you can open it, and this is what it looks like. So what we need to do is we need to copy this skill and import it into your Claude. So to do that, you just go to Claude and go to Customize, and here is where you can go ahead and add new skills, create new skills and whatnot. So go to skills, and here you'll see I already have the skills imported, but just for sake, just imagine I didn't. You would just go click here and go to upload a skill and go ahead and look for the skill that you just downloaded. Okay? And then whenever you have this uploaded, Claude will have a complete Akash specification as context. So anytime you ask it about Akash deployments from this point on, it'll be working from the actual skill and spec instead of just guessing. So now with the skill loaded, let's go ahead and generate our SDL file. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and ask it to generate the SDL file to deploy on Akash, because that's what we're doing. We'll give it a moment to get the deploy.yaml file. So you'll see it'll be checking the skills, hopefully. And then this is done. It's saying that it is the skill, it has a spec, and it's generated according to Akash spec, which is exactly what we want. And so let me just go ahead and take a look here. Everything is good to go. So
we are going to go to back to our browser, go to console.akash.network, and you're going to go and log in over here. If you don't already have an account, you can sign up for one. New users get a trial credit that you can go ahead and test things out, but you're going to want to not be on trial if you want your instances to last longer than 24 hours. And to do that, all you have to do is add any amount of funds into your account, and that is how you'll get yourself out of the trial account. So here I'm gonna hit the deploy button, and we're gonna run a custom container because we have our own SDL file or YAML file. So here's the generic one. We're just gonna go ahead and replace it with the one that we just copied from Claude, and we're gonna make sure to change the username here back to my username, which is Calum. And then everything else looks good. Got the denominator as ACT. And here it's going to ask me to pay for the deployment. So I'm just going to leave it as 50 cents, but you probably want to put some money behind it if you don't want it to disappear overnight. So I'm going to put $1 up. And now it's going to be searching for providers. And what's happening now is our request is being sent out to the network, and any provider that's able to go ahead and take our container and deploy it is going to show up on our deployment list here. And you can choose between price, uptime, and location. So I'm in the US, 65 cents a month sounds like a good deal to me. Out of Virginia, uptime could be better, but I think that's good enough for this presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and put my deployment there. And we should see that this will take some time for us to make that connection with the provider, and now we are deploying directly onto their server. And so it does take some time to load, but it should already be loaded here. Once it's ready, you'll see everything green on the spot, and then you'll have your URL link here. Now, of course, you can always set your URL to be different, which means that you can go to any of your domain providers like GoDaddy or Namecheap or wherever it is that you buy domain names, and you can have it connect to this URL here so that you don't have to have such a not easy to remember URL. But basically this is it. This is the entire site that we had on Claude is now represented here. And here we go. Our form works, and just like before, it still works now. So that's exactly what we want to see.
So let's recap what just happened. We prompted Claude to create a multi-page business website, and it generated the entire front end. We then asked it to containerize it, and it generated a working Docker file for us to use with the correct configurations. We then asked Claude to generate the Akash deployment manifest, and then outputted a valid SDL file with the proper resource requests and pricing. The only manual steps in this entire pipeline was pushing the Docker image to the registry and clicking through the Akash console UI. Everything else happened inside of a single Claude conversation. And the important thing to understand here is that this workflow is not specific to this landing page. Anything Claude can build as an artifact, a React application, a monitoring dashboard, an internal admin tool, even a browser-based game, you can run through the exact same pipeline. Build it, containerize it, and generate the SDL to deploy it, from Claude to cloud. Now, the Akash skills that powers this entire thing is available for you free, and the Akash console is where you can sign up for a new account and get free trial deployment credits to test all of this out. Try this with your next Claude build and see how fast you can take it from artifact to live URL. I'm Calum, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.